Hello, it's good to see you. Today we have kind of a different video. This is one that several people have talked to me about. They didn't necessarily request it, but it was something that several people have mentioned to me. They've said that one of the reasons they like to watch ASMR videos is because it helps them relax. It helps take their mind off their troubles. And several of them have mentioned to me that a lot of their stress comes from bullying, from people in their life who bully them. They just, they're verbally abusive. And we're not even just talking about young people. A couple of them are adults who are dealing with situations in their own life, whether it's a boss or just a family member or somebody in their life who is bullying them and making their life difficult. And it causes a lot of anxiety, it causes a lot of tension, a lot of stress. And I've been there. I think a lot of times we think that when you think of bullying, you think of kids in school, but it doesn't always stop there. A lot of times the kids who are bullies grow up to be adults who do the same thing. There are a lot of theories and reasons for it, I guess. Some people say it's because of the way they were raised, or there are different reasons for why some people become bullies. But today I just want to talk about having to deal with people like that, because sometimes you may be in a situation in your life where you can't get away from these people for whatever reason, whether they're your boss and you're not in a position to do anything about it right now, or a close family member, or whatever it is. You can't always just walk away. You may have to continue to deal with this person. And that would apply also, of course, if you were a young person, if you were still in school, or whatever, whatever age you are. For myself, I dealt with a great deal of bullying when I was younger. When I was in elementary school, I was very shy. I was very, very quiet, painfully shy. I didn't like talking. I was always very quiet. And I got picked on because I went to a private school, and my family didn't have money. I don't know how they sent me there. I have no idea how I was able to go to this school. But, we didn't have any money. We didn't have nice things. I didn't have nice clothes. And I got picked on a lot because I was different. And I know how that can make you feel. I know how that can affect you. And I had another bully, this one girl in the 7th grade, that bullied me every single day the entire year and made my life a nightmare. I know what it's like to have someone like this in your life, and you may not be able to get away from them. I would have loved to. I would have given anything to get away from these people, but I couldn't. I had to just live through it. And I feel that a lot of the advice I got from adults wasn't very helpful. It was like they blamed me and said, well, if you weren't such an easy target, they wouldn't pick on you. But I think there has to be a better way to approach it. I think there has to be a better way to deal with this. In a perfect world, the bullies would be dealt with and they would leave you alone, but I think we all know that's not the way it works. Even in school, where they say they have a zero tolerance policy against bullies, it doesn't, in the real world, it doesn't always go that way. A lot of times the bullying is ignored, it's overlooked, and nothing is ever done about it. So sometimes we just have to deal with it ourselves. It's like we're kind of alone. We don't really have anybody to help us, whether you're in school or you're an adult in the workforce or in your own family. You may kind of feel like you're alone. But if nothing else, I can tell you that I have been there, and I know how hard it is to have to live every day with somebody like that. I know, and I want to just go over some stuff. And these are just from me. I'm no professional. I'm not a therapist. I'm not, this is not like professional advice. These are just some things that I typed up to show you today, to help you cope. I mean, watching ASMR videos is awesome. But eventually you have to turn the video off and go back to your life, and maybe a couple things in here would help. So we're going to go over some ideas, and then I have some other things to show you too. So we're going to look at the cards first, and they're not really in any particular order. And this is one you hear a lot, but I want you to think about this in a different way. Refuse to take bullying behavior personally. A lot of times people will just say, "Oh, just ignore it." Just ignore it. Well, that's so much easier said than done. They make sure you can't ignore it. I mean, they will literally get in your face to make sure you can't ignore what they're saying to you. But when I say refuse to take it personally, I think you have to remind yourself on a regular basis, and you may have to give yourself pep talks because there's nobody else to do it. Their behavior says more about them than it does you. Don't blame yourself if someone is bullying you, because that's what a lot of people will automatically say. Well, if you weren't so quiet, if you weren't so shy, if you didn't respond to them, they wouldn't bully you. See, they kind of put it back on you. Don't let that affect you. Look at the bully. I mean, they are the cause of the problem, not you. They are the problem. And the things that they do and say to you, that's their problem. And they are making it your problem. And it's not fair. But when they call you names and they insult you and they figure out what you're sensitive about and pick on you for it, I know it's not always possible. But try not to take it personally, because there's nothing wrong with you. It's not you. If you weren't there, they would be picking on somebody else for some other reason. They thrive on that kind of interaction. It's like they're an energy vampire. That's kind of how I feel about it. They're like an energy vampire. They just draw energy from people that they pick on. And it kind of invigorates them. It makes them feel happy and alive to make someone else miserable every day. Or that's the way it seems to me. And this kind of goes without saying, and I never did this, but I know it's hard for some people. Refrain from getting into a physical altercation. Don't fight with them. I mean, there are a lot of different opinions on this, I guess. Don't pick a literal fight with them. Don't hit them. Don't kick them. Because I think a lot of bullies, I think that's what they're looking for. I think they want you to do something like that. So then they have a reason to really get into it with you. As hard as it can be, try to walk away. Because when you get into a fight with them, you're just giving them what they want more often than not. So try not to do that. But again, I know in the real world sometimes things happen. Don't be too hard on yourself, but I do feel that you're giving them more power if you do that, because I think that's what they want you to do. Practice defending yourself verbally in advance. What you can do some visualization, like where you kind of imagine, if you've had several interactions with this person, you kind of get a feel for their pattern. I think most bullies kind of have a pattern, and it may be the kind of thing where it escalates over time, and it can actually become physical. But if they have a pattern, like if they always pick on your hairstyle or your clothing or your mom's car, that was the big one. I got picked on a lot because my parents didn't have nice vehicles and we didn't live in a nice house. I heard a lot about that. If they have a pattern, you can try to prepare yourself to defend yourself verbally. And whatever that can be for you. If you feel the need to defend yourself, you can practice ahead of time what you might say in response to the things that they typically say to you. Whatever that would be for you. And this kind of goes along with don't pick a fight. Don't reciprocate bullying behavior. It's very tempting, I think, and I think it would actually take a lot of courage to get up the nerve, when they pick on you for the way you look, to pick on them, for something about the way they look. But again, I think that's what they want. I think they want you to get into it with them a little bit. And they can always beat you. They can always top you because they've probably had a lot more experience at being cruel than you have. And whatever you say to them, they can very easily top and just make you feel worse. And you don't want to go down to their level anyway. I mean, when you listen to that bully, is that really how you want to sound? Is that how you want to talk to people, even that person? Don't let them drag you down to where they are, because you're better than that. You are better than that in so many ways. You don't have to talk like them. You don't have to treat people that way. They shouldn't either, but we can't control other people's behavior. And I think this is a good one, especially in the workplace or in a school where they're not taking bullying very seriously. Document any and all offenses. And I do know a person, not anybody I work with, it's someone I know who actually had to do this in their work environment, where they were being bullied by their boss. And it got pretty ugly, and they had to start keeping a log of everything that had happened between the boss and them. If there's a pattern of verbal behavior or physical abuse, document it any way you need to. If you need to write it down, if you need to speak to someone just to get it on record, whatever you need to do. And that is what this person had to do, and ultimately their boss was terminated for it. But it got physical, and they actually had a boss who was assaulting them. So just keep a record of things that happen. You may never need it. It may never be anything you need, but it's better to have it and not need it than need it and not have it. This doesn't apply in every situation, but it does in some. Don't allow yourself to become isolated by a bully. And I think this happens a lot when it's a family member or a significant other. I think a lot of abusive people will try to isolate you and keep you away from your friends or your family or people that you rely on, like your support network. They will try to isolate you from those people. And it can happen so gradually that you may not even see it for what it is at the time. But if they start having problems with you spending time with people that you normally spend time with, for whatever reason, like your friends or whoever you're close to, that's a big red flag. No one should ever try to cull you from the herd, so to speak. I mean, that's not a good analogy, but they shouldn't try to pull you away from people that you care about and people who care about you. They shouldn't have a problem with you having relationships with other people. And if they want to keep you all to themselves, that is a big red flag that you should not ignore. And again, it may happen very gradually. But if you notice it happening, I think it's time to take action. It's time to, at the very least, put your foot down and say, I will have friends outside of you. I will have a life outside of you. I will have people who support me and love me, and people that I spend time with outside of you. And you are not going to stop me. And this is one that I should have done more as a kid, but I didn't have the confidence to do it. Project an image of confidence. I think if you I'm slouching right now, so I'm not a good example, but sit up straight, walk straight, keep your head up, look them in the eye. Because I was really bad. I was so shy. I would avoid eye contact. I was like a wounded animal, especially after it had been going on for a long time. You just project this image of like a wounded dog. It's just you kind of hunch down. You can't look at them. Stand up straight and look them in the eye. And show them how confident you are. And I think it will catch them off guard, especially if they're not used to you doing it. Stand up straight and look at them. Square your shoulders. I'm not saying get ready for a fight. I'm saying just stand up straight and let them know you're there. Let them know who you are. And it may be enough to make them think twice, especially if you're bigger than them. And this could apply to a coworker or a family member or even a classmate. But it's easier said than done. Confront the person if you must spend time with them regularly. If this is someone that you see every day, and this is something I should have done. I mean, I think back to this girl in the 7th grade that I had homeroom with, and she made my life a living hell the entire year. I didn't even know her before that year. I had never met her. I had no idea who she was, but for some reason, she picked me out and said, "Yep, that's the one for me this year. That's the one I'm going to pick on all year." And I wish I had just said something to her in the beginning, but again, I didn't have the confidence to do it. I was very, very unsure of myself, and I did not have the confidence to say, look, I don't appreciate the way you talk to me, and I want you to stop, because it's rude and it's cruel, and I expect you to stop, and if you don't stop, I'll see what I can do to make you stop. If I had just walked up to her, looked her straight in the eye, and said that right off the bat, it might have made a difference. But I didn't have enough confidence to do that. There was no way. But maybe if somebody had talked to me a little bit and told me, you have it in you. You do have it in you to do that. You can stand up to these people. You can do it. I know you can do it. You just gotta have faith in yourself, Maybe if somebody had said that to me instead of, "Oh, just ignore it," or, "Oh, stop being such an easy person to pick on. It's your fault. She's doing it anyway." Maybe I could have handled it a little better, because that was all the advice I got. And this, this is so important. Ignore any inappropriate behavior. You are not required to respond. If they ask you inappropriate questions or say inappropriate things to you, you are not required to answer them. You are not required to stand there and take it. You are not. I don't even care if they're your boss. You are not required to listen to that and respond. I know it feels like, because I think it's human behavior. It's an instinct that when someone speaks to us, we feel required to respond. We have to say something back. You don't have to. I think silence can be a very useful tool if you just walk away. Or just stand there and look at them. You don't have to answer them if you don't want to. You are not required to do it, even if they're your boss, because deep down they know they don't have the right. Like I'm not saying when they tell you to do your job. I'm saying if they're insulting you or degrading you or bullying you and harassing you, they know they don't have the right to do it. And they know that you don't have to respond to that. And when you're in a bullying situation, or if there's someone that you have to see on a regular basis, and you can't avoid it, try to remain calm if you can. I know it's hard because my palms would get sweaty, my heart would race whenever I saw this person in the 7th grade, because I never knew what it was going to be that day. Take deep breaths, develop a mantra, whether it's, just something that kind of helps you cope, like, this will be over soon, this will be over soon, this is not going to last, this is not going to last. Whatever it is, she's a jerk, whatever you have to say to yourself. Try to remain calm, because if they see they've got you rattled, I think they do it more. I think they just ramp it up because they go, oh goody, they're doing what I want them to do. But if you can remain calm, I think it kind of takes the wind out of their sails a little bit. And this is a piece of advice I got, but I was never able to do it because, again, I didn't have the confidence to. But you might. I don't know. Use humor and laugh along. Like, you can laugh with them. I was never able to do this. I got this advice from a couple of teachers in elementary school, but I was never able to do it because I was so tender-hearted. I mean, they made a sport of making me cry. It's like they would pick on me until I cried, and then that was the goal ultimately. And I never had the confidence to laugh along with what they were saying. But whatever your situation is, you might be able to do that. It might be worth a try, depending on whatever your situation is, whatever you're having to deal with, and whoever this person is to you, whether it's a coworker or a boss, or it could even be a friend. I mean, I think a lot of us have had friends that were not really all that great. I mean, they were kind of jerks. I had a friend like that in middle school, different person. But whenever I do bitchy role plays, I just kind of imagine what she would say, because she was like a frenemy before there was a name for it. She'd be really nice to me, and then the next minute she's insulting me like, oh my God, and not even trying to be funny. She was just like being really mean to me. I don't know why I put up with it as long as I did, but eventually we kind of drifted apart, and I was okay with that. And this is kind of like a no-duh kind of thing, but avoid the person whenever possible. If you can get away from them, and I imagine you probably already do. I know I do. If there's someone in my life who is particularly awful, if I can avoid them, I do. I will not get around them if I can help it in any way, shape, or form. I will have no contact with them if I can make that happen. Because in my opinion, these people don't change. I think young bullies often grow up to be adult bullies, and they don't change. So if you can stay away from them, then I would advise doing that. Of course, that's kind of common sense. Find things that give you confidence. Now, this is very subjective. This is, it would be very individual for you. Whatever gives you confidence may not work for me, and vice versa. Whether it's songs or mantras or affirmations, whatever it is for you that gives you confidence in yourself, find those things and use them. I think one thing that helps for a lot of people that you may not have thought of is martial arts. I've seen it myself, the transformation that can happen in a person who has very little faith in themselves. If they spend some time studying martial arts, it can make a big difference in the amount of confidence they have in themselves, because they can see what they're able to do. When you really push yourself and using your body and doing physical things, I think it can really surprise yourself, and you find that you have a lot more faith in yourself. It's like, wow, I can really do it. I could handle that. And it helps them handle other things in their life that maybe they might not have been so able to handle before. Well, they could handle it, they just didn't know it. It gives them a little more faith in themselves. But whatever it is for you, whether it's meditation or exercise, competing with sports, or whatever it is for you, find those things that give you that confidence and do them on a regular basis. I have a list of songs here that I like when it comes to dealing with bullies in different ways and different ways of looking at bullies. I have a list of songs that I'm going to give you, and I'll put them in the description too. This sometimes I can listen to if I get down, if I feel, not so much now, but when I was younger, if I was dealing with a bad situation with someone, I could listen to these songs and it would make me feel a little better, a little more sure of myself. Like, I can handle this. I'm not the problem. They're the problem. And I will get through this. I will deal with this. So find whatever it is for you that works. And hang on to that. Use that whenever you need to. Whenever you need a little boost, do that. And this is another thing that can be very hard, I think, for most people, if you've been bullied. And when I say bullied, I don't mean like somebody who's having a bad day and they're temporarily kind of grouchy. I think we all know the difference. A bully is someone who is habitually cruel and abusive, whether it's verbally or physically or emotionally, whatever it is, that it's just a chronic thing with them. It's not just like a one-time thing where they lose their temper or something. That's what I mean. And I think at one point or another, most of us have had to deal with a bully to some extent. And you never forget it. I mean, it always stays with you. I think if you had to deal with one, especially as a child, you have very vivid memories of it. I know I do. Talk about your experience with others. Being a quiet victim only gives the bully more strength. Chances are, I think especially with young people or in a workplace environment, if that person is bullying you, they're probably doing the same thing to at least one other person. But I think there's a lot of shame and guilt that goes along with being bullied that makes us not talk about it. It shuts us up. It's like it's embarrassing. It's if you feel shamed. It's like you feel like it's your fault, kind of. And it's not something that's very easy to talk about. But I think we kind of have a responsibility to do it when we can. If nothing else, you're going to force that bully to explain themselves to somebody, hopefully. You're going to have to explain why you have acted this way and why you've done these things. Because silence, I mean, it's a cliche or it's a worn out saying, but silence is acceptance. It's hard to speak out. I know it's hard to speak out. I've been there, and I am ashamed to say that I didn't speak out every time. I didn't. Well, the few times I did speak out, I didn't get anywhere, but you should still try to let other people know, hey, here's what's going on, and it is not okay, and I need help to get it to stop, and this is what this person is doing, so can you help me? This one is so hard, especially when you're young. I know it was hard for me, and I didn't even realize it. Remember that nothing lasts forever, even this. I can remember being in elementary school, and it felt like it was always going to be that way. That the way I was being treated and the way I felt about myself, it would always be that way. But nothing lasts forever. It's like there's an old saying, it can't rain every day. It can't rain every day. Eventually it's going to stop and the sun's going to come back out. It will not last forever. These people, whether it's a classmate or even a teacher or a boss or a parent or any other family member or significant other, eventually they will not have that ability anymore. And it will be up to you whether or not you continue to be around that person. And you can choose to walk away and never look back if that's what you want. They will not have this power over you forever. I promise they won't. I know sometimes it feels like they will, but they won't. One day they will be gone. They will be out of your life for good if you want them to be. And it won't be anymore. They will not have this control over you anymore, and they will never have it again if you don't want them to. So it's kind of hard. I know it's hard to hang in there. But eventually, everything changes. Things always change. That's the one thing that you can count on, is that everything changes. Good or bad. Nothing stays the same. And here's a little saying. I have some more quotes about bullying, but I like this one in particular. Some people try to be tall by cutting off the heads of others. And that kind of sums it up for me. It's like they feel better about themselves by trying to knock you down. And that, again, that is not about you. That is not your fault. That is not something that you asked for. That is not something you deserve. That is on them. They're just trying to bring themselves up by knocking you down. And as hard as it is, sometimes we have to stand up and do what we can to make it stop, if at all possible. No matter whether you're a kid or a grown-up, whatever the circumstances are. But do remember, it doesn't last forever. It won't. You may not be in a position to stop that person, and they may know it. They may know that there's nothing you can really do about it. And that just gives them more confidence. That just makes them more cocky. But speak out. If at all possible, speak out. If it's a boss, they have a boss somewhere. Or you may have a human resources department. There may be something you can do about it. But I know life is complicated. I know it's not all black and white. There's a lot of gray area in there. And sometimes we just have to cope. I mean, I know that. Sometimes you just have to cope with it. It may help to stand in front of a mirror and give yourself a pep talk. And you can either talk like you're talking to yourself, or you can pretend you can role play talking to that person. And you can say all the things that you want to say to them, and it may give you more confidence the next time you have to deal with them. Just a thought. But I have a few songs here. It's actually quite a few. Some songs that sometimes have been helpful to me. Now, these are not all going to be your cup of tea, I'm sure. There are different genres of music here, and I'm going to put them in the description. If you're looking for songs for comfort or motivation, or just to feel like you're not alone when it comes to this kind of thing, you might want to check out some of these. A lot of these I'm sure you could find on YouTube. You could find a video of it, or you could hear it. And I'll put these in the description, the title and the artist. I'm Still Standing by Elton John. Fighter by Christina Aguilera. That's a really good one. Oh Father by Madonna. Collapse by Eminem, which was one of my big motivators when I was writing my book. Mean by Taylor Swift. Blown Away by Carrie Underwood. Dirt Off Your Shoulder by Jay-Z. I was just listening to that this morning. How Do You Like Me Now by Toby Keith. Haters by Hilary Duff. One of These Days by Tim McGraw. Bully by Shinedown. Mean Girls by Rachel Crow. Ugh, Mean Girls suck. Hate on Me by Jill Scott. Dem Haters by Rihanna. Independence Day by Martina McBride. Shake It Off by Taylor Swift. Leave by Michael W. Smith. And I Will Survive by Gloria Gaynor. And there are others. I know, I'm sure there are others. If you have other suggestions, I would love to see them in the comments. There may be some I forgot. These are some that I just came to me today while I was thinking about this. But I will put them in the description as well if you want to check out any of those songs. One other thing I wanted to do, I want to read this to you. And these are some of your rights when it comes to dealing with anyone, whether it's a bully or not. You have some basic human rights that I think it doesn't hurt to remind yourself of sometimes, because especially if this bully is someone that you have to deal with on a regular basis, they can kind of strip away your perspective. They can make you forget who you are and what you're entitled to as a person. They can make you feel like nobody. They can make you feel like a nobody, like you're nothing. And that's what they want to do. That's their goal, is to make you feel like you're not worth anything. But you are. They're a piece of crap, but you're not. That's how I feel about it. You have the right to be treated with respect. You do. Everybody has that right. That is a basic human right. You do have the right to be treated with respect at all times. You have the right to express your feelings and your opinions and your wants. Nobody can take that away from you. You have your right. You have a right to say how you feel and what your opinion is and what you believe in. Don't ever let somebody take that away from you. Don't let them shut you up. I think bullies will try to do that. They will ridicule you. They will talk over you. They will shout you down. Don't forget that you do have a right to your own voice and your own opinions. You have the right to set your own priorities. And this is good too if you're dealing with a bully for a boss. Or a significant other. You do have the right to set your own priorities. Other people do not have the right to dictate your life to you. They do not have the right to tell you how to live your life. You get to make your own choices and have your own priorities. You have the right to say no without feeling guilty. And I think this is especially hard for women. We feel like we have to be everything to everybody. And I think this especially applies to family members who may be a little pushy. You know, they're always trying to push you into things, or people at work who are constantly trying to get you to do more and more and more, and you have a hard time saying no. You do have a right to say no and not feel guilty about it. In fact, it's hard to say no initially. I know, because I'm the same way. But the more you do it, the easier it gets to say no, judiciously. It's like, I really don't have time for this. I truly can't do this. So I'm going to say no. And it gets easier. The more you do it, the easier it gets to say it without feeling bad, without beating yourself up for several days afterwards. After a while, you get to the point where you can say no and you don't think another thing about it. And it's liberating. It's wonderful. I highly recommend it. You have the right to get what you pay for. I guess this applies if you're dealing with a situation like you're a consumer or something, and you feel that you didn't get what you bargained for and they make you feel bad for saying anything about it. You have a right to speak up if you feel that you have not gotten what you deserve. You have a right to speak up for what's yours. You have a right to get what you deserve, what you paid for, or whatever it is that you're supposed to get, whatever you bargained for, whatever. You have a right to that. You have the right to have opinions different than others. And I'll be honest, this is a tough one these days. I think a lot of people are afraid to voice their opinions. It's almost like they're bothered by the fact that you may not have the same opinion they do. But you have just as much of a right to your opinion as that person does. Even if they're louder and more obnoxious about it, you still have a right to your opinion. You don't have to keep it to yourself just because they told you to, or because they called you a name or said you're wrong, you're stupid, whatever. You still have every right to your opinion just as much as everybody else. There's nothing wrong with that. Even if everybody doesn't agree with you, you still have a right to have your own personal opinion about things. You have the right to take care of and protect yourself from being threatened physically, mentally, or emotionally. You do. You have the right, and I think you have the duty, you have the responsibility to take care of yourself, whether it's physically, emotionally, mentally, whatever it is. If someone is threatening your physical health, your mental health, your emotional health, you have the right, and I do believe the duty, to stand up for yourself and try to protect yourself. Because there may be times in your life where you're the only person who can do it. For whatever reason, you may have to do it for yourself, and you have to stand up and try to do that. And finally, you have the right to create your own happy and healthy life. You do. You have that right. You don't have to live in misery just because somebody else said so. You don't. You don't. If you have dreams and goals, you're never too old to try to pursue those things. And if you're with somebody who thinks your dreams and your goals are foolish or stupid or, pointless, I don't think you're doing yourself any favors by not pursuing what matters to you because they said you shouldn't for some reason. I think you should do it anyway. And if they don't like it, well, that's just not, you can't worry about it all the time. Now, I'm not saying, if you have a family and you want to go join the circus, you just run away and don't tell them where you're going. I'm not talking about that. But say you want to take up painting and you're married to someone who says, "Well, that's stupid. You'd suck at it anyway. I mean, you wouldn't be able to do anything. You can't paint. That would be a waste of time. It'd be a waste of money." I just think that's ridiculous. Well, first of all, think about it. If you're with someone who would say something like that to you, that may not be a good person to spend the rest of your life with. And think about why they might not want you to do things, why they might not want you to pursue a happy and healthy life, because then you're not focused solely on them anymore. It takes away a lot of your time and attention from them, and that's what they're really concerned about. It's not that you're actually bad at whatever, and even if you are, who cares? If you enjoy it, do it. There are all kinds of things I enjoy, but I love to sing, but I'm not very good at it. I don't care. It doesn't matter, because I still enjoy it. So it doesn't matter to me. I love playing badminton, but I'm awful at it. I love to go bowling, but I'm not that good at it. So I still enjoy it. It makes me laugh and I have a great time. And I would never want to be around someone who would knock that or criticize it or insult me for it. You have a right to go out and pursue the things that make you happy. As long as I'm not talking about running off and joining the circus and leaving everybody and all your responsibility behind, but if you want to take up painting or learn to fly a plane or whatever it is you want to do, you want to learn how to tap dance or roller skate, you should do it. And don't wait another day. Don't wait another day. And I don't care how old you are. I don't care if you're 80 years old. You're never too old. As long as you're above ground, you still have time and you can still do it. It is never too late. If you want to go back to school or you want to learn a foreign language or whatever it is, as long as you're still breathing, you have time and it is not too late to start. So don't wait any longer. Now finally, I'm going to read you some quotes. And these don't all necessarily deal with bullying, but I'm going to read them anyway because I think they kind of apply. Hate is too great of a burden to bear. It injures the hater more than it injures the hated. And that's from Coretta Scott King. No one can make you feel inferior without your consent. And that's from Eleanor Roosevelt. Hatred makes us all ugly. And that's from Laurel K. Hamilton. The haters always scream the loudest, and they do. That's from Tucker Max. The haters always scream the loudest. They always have the most to say, and they're always the loudest people to say it. That's been my experience anyway. I love this. Something about winning attracts losers with opinions. And that's something that I've seen. If you start doing better with your life, if you start actually taking steps to improve your life, if you have a bully in your life, I think they really ramp it up. If they see that you're succeeding, you've tried something and it's really taken off and you're starting to change, you're starting to get more confidence in yourself, they will start to be even meaner to you. And they will start ramping up they will attempt to control you more because it scares them. Because it's like, oh my God, this person is really blossoming, and they're going to realize what a shithead I've been, and they're going to figure out what I'm doing here, and they're not going to put up with me anymore. But yeah, when you see somebody succeeding and doing really well, it's fascinating to watch the ugliness come out from people around them. It's fascinating to see how bitter and angry people can get. Like there's a limited amount of success in the world, and this one successful person has taken it all for themselves. So these other people are angry. Well, you know what they're really angry about? One of the things I think they're angry about? If you're successful and they're not, it takes away their excuses for not being successful. See, as long as they kind of feel like you're on the same level with them, they can excuse their lack of success. But once you start going up, it just makes them look bad, and they don't like that. They don't like it, so they have to criticize it and put it down and act like it's less than what it is. And I think they're kind of hoping to draw you back down to where they are. It's the crab bucket syndrome. One crab tries to crawl out, the other ones, in their attempt to get out, just pull it back down. They want to see you come back to where you were so they can control you better, because it's harder to control a confident, successful person. It's much harder to control someone like that because they can see your shit for what it is, and they're much less likely to tolerate it than someone who doesn't have that self-confidence. And it does make them look bad. So yeah, once you start succeeding, you may notice that haters kind of come out of the woodwork and have a lot to say about your success. I may know a little bit about that. Haters are cowards. When confronted, they often back down. We must resist haters. And that's from Janet Reno. I just can't imagine her using the word haters, but apparently she did. I will permit no man to narrow and degrade my soul by making me hate him. And that's from Booker T. Washington. And that's kind of like dragging you down to their level. If you hate them, they're really taking you down to their level. I will permit no man to narrow and degrade my soul by making me hate him. Kill him with kindness. Make your supporters proud and your haters jealous. And that's author unknown. I don't know who said that, but I like that. Make your supporters proud and your haters jealous. It is only out of ignorance that people are cruel because they don't think it will come back. And that's from Maya Angelou. If you believe in instant karma, sometimes their negative energy, I think, does come back to them, and I think it does affect their life. I think your thoughts and your actions do, I don't want to get all crunchy and weird, but I think you do kind of put an energy out there in the universe. And if you're a positive person, if you're an uplifting person, I think you will have more of a positive energy around yourself. And I think it does make your life better. If you are more of a negative person, an angry person, a bitter person who's always looking for the bad things and the dark, awful things, I think you end up with a negative energy around you. And I think it does make your life worse. And there may not be anything to that, but I think there is. I think positive people bring more good things into their lives simply because they're more positive. And negative people bring more negative things into their lives for the same reason. Always give your best. Never get discouraged. Never be petty. Others may hate you, but those who hate you don't win unless you hate them. And then you destroy yourself. And that's from Richard Nixon. It's hard to not be petty. I know, it's so hard. I have a problem too, because I have a little bit of a smart mouth, and sometimes I want to tangle with people, and I'm not always good at keeping quiet. I try not to be petty. And there may be people in your life who hate you, who are jealous of you, especially if you're trying to better yourself. And they may criticize you and insult you, but try to remember it for what it is and see it for what it is. It's not you. It's not you. It's them. And I think in a way, sometimes I feel sorry for people like that. I feel sorry for people who may insult me or say terrible things to me. I feel bad for them because I can't imagine walking around with that much hatred in my heart. I can't imagine being that angry that I would lash out at someone that way. Bullies don't operate the way the rest of us do. They don't see the world the way the rest of us do. I think they see it very differently. And I do kind of feel bad for them. And then finally, I have one last quote here from Dr. Seuss, and this is a very good one. Be who you are and say what you feel, because those who mind don't matter, and those who matter don't mind. Just be yourself. There will always be people out there who will criticize you for being who you are, But those who mind don't matter, and those who matter don't mind. They're not going to judge you. They're not going to be mean to you because you are yourself. You're being yourself and you're doing what you want to do with your life. They're not going to mind. They're going to be okay with it. So hang in there. You know, if you're dealing with a bully at this point in your life, know you're not alone. There literally are millions of people all around you who have either already dealt with one in the past or are dealing with one now. I think we all at one point or another will deal with one to some extent. And you're not alone, and it won't last forever. Just hang in there and take care of yourself. And don't let them sway you from going down the path you want to go down to make your life better, if that's what they're trying to do. Don't let them do that to you. They don't deserve it. They don't deserve that kind of reward. They don't deserve it. You go on out there and you live your life. And, you know, if you're in school now and you're somebody who gets picked on and bullied, live the kind of life and do the kind of things with your life that when you go back to that reunion, you will blow them all away. That's what you do. And you will get the last laugh. I promise you. I promise you, you will. So thank you so much for watching. I hope this helped, at least a little bit. And take care of yourself. And I'll see you again really soon.